One. Okay, welcome back to the Opera Report. We have here Joe Sacco, who was referred to us by Christine Kramer. He's a delegate over there at the convention right now, a Nevada delegate, I believe. Joe, are you there?
Yes, Ed, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So, Joe, tell us about yourself. Who is Joe Sacco?
Well, for many years, I've been known as a grassroots activist. I started in politics back in 2002 when I became the vice president of Students for a Sensible Drug Policy, the UNLV chapter in Southern Nevada. My eyes were really opened through not only learning about marijuana and the drug war, but also by experiencing it in my college years. And from there, I went on to a lot of anti-war activism. We organized one time a 1,000-person march down the Las Vegas Strip for the 3rd anniversary of the Iraq invasion. We called it an invasion because that's what it was. And I also helped organize with others very small policy-focused groups to change and better our community, including going to the school district and changing the opt-out policy, of which gave the schools permission to give our children's information to the military recruiters as well as big corporations. We worked very hard and went to 10-hour-long meetings to ensure that there would be an opt-in system where our children's information could be private, and we were very successful with that. I met a lot of great people over the years, and some of my inspirations have been Noam Chomsky, my mother, Gail Sacco, who has been very engaged for well over a decade with a organization, a global organization, an anarchist organization, a decentralized organization known as Food Not Bombs.
Okay.
And so, I've done a lot over the years, and now this is the first time I'm experiencing politics on the so-called inside, if you will.
Gotcha. Okay, how old are you?
I am 35. I'll be 36 in September.
35. Okay, yeah. This is my first time registering as a Democrat as well. I started out with the Yippies back in New York City. I'm 53 years old. I fell for it, man. I saw Bernie out there. I said, let's go for it. And we've been trying.
Well, if I may, I just want to interject.
Yeah.
I'm not a new Democrat. I have been a Democrat for some time, and I plan on staying with the party and doing everything I can to work from inside as well as from the so-called outside.
Okay, gotcha. And that's a very important point as well, because I think if we had more of our own people on the inside, we wouldn't be getting the royal screwing that we're getting right now.
That's correct. We have some leadership. I don't like to call them leadership. I call them elected officers or officials. And specifically, we have Nevada State Democratic Party Chairwoman Roberta Lang, Clark County Chair Chris Miller, as well as a handful of other individuals that have been very instrumental in this battle that we've been having over being heard and being treated with equal access to our political equity in Nevada.
So now you were elected a delegate, a Nevada delegate.
Yes, that's correct. I was present at the Nevada State Caucus, which was about a 6-hour day.
Yeah.
I proceeded to the county and state conventions, and ultimately I was elected to represent Congressional District 1, and I'm very proud and thankful to the people of CD1 for giving me this opportunity to represent them.
So now there's been a lot of, I guess you might say, drama where supposedly the Hillary camp wants to reach out to Bernie delegates and include them in and welcome them in. Is this what you've experienced since you've showed up there, or even before, actually?
Well, the issue here, Ed, is that they have made some lackluster attempts, but these attempts have been peppered with insults, intimidation, and harassment. For example, the first day of the convention, 2 of our national delegates for Bernie Sanders had stepped up from their seat, not to walk out of the convention, but simply to go to the bathroom and get a bite to eat. While they were gone to do those things, two Hillary delegates moved from their seats, came over and sat down in those seats. And I very politely said to one of the gentlemen, would you please not sit here, because we have our delegates coming back in a few moments. In fact, one of the two gentlemen is my city councilman, Bob Coffin, in Ward 3. So I asked the two gentlemen, would you please move? It's a little too soon. We're not feeling comfortable. Look, we want to organize, and we don't want, the opposition right next to us under our nose. And we thought that would be a respectful request, and the councilman and the other gentleman flat out refused to move until it became a shouting match. So that was the start of our convention. And each day we have a delegation meeting in the morning, and every single day this week there has been a different story to tell, in which we have asked to please respect us, please respect the differences, and allow us to have a seat at the table.
Now, do you think this is mostly the Nevada, because Nevada was so hotly contested, or is this going on throughout all the Bernie versus Hillary people there at the convention?
Well, actually, this is throughout all 50 states. We have talked with and organized with delegates from all the different states, as well as activists from all over the country, all over the world, in fact. And the sentiment is pretty universal. The only unity that we're having is on the streets outside the convention.
Yeah, now outside it's 100% for Bernie?
I don't know that I could speak to that. There's a variety of protesters and demonstrators outside, everything from anarchists wearing black masks and gas masks and helmets, looking for, or perhaps just expecting and preparing for a violent defense or offense from the police. Now, I do want to say one thing. This country has been very volatile regarding police abuse of power, lack of accountability issues. We see it with Black Lives Matter. And I do want to make a very important point. The police have a very difficult job. They're out here trying to protect us all as best as they can, and we definitely appreciate that. We have Secret Service that buses us in and out of the convention. We have police officers that are constantly patrolling inside the lobby of our hotels, and we do appreciate them, and we want them to be safe as well. But to answer your question, the protesters outside, are they all for Bernie? No. A lot of them are supporting Nina Turner. A lot of them are supporting Jill Stein. There are people out there supporting libertarians, and there are people advocating for a none-of-the-above campaign. The country is outraged, and this has all been triggered by a series of events that we've witnessed as volunteers with the campaign, and as well now confirmed our greatest fears through the latest WikiLeaks releases.
Yeah, I actually got a comment from Erin Bilbray that her emails were found in WikiLeaks, so that did confirm that those WikiLeaks emails were real. Now, but outside, are there any Trump supporters outside?
I have not seen Trump supporters outside, so it's not that kind of battle that we're fighting. It seems to be the people versus the establishment, the people versus the machine. Right. The only type of folks that I've seen outside that I don't quite appreciate, although they have their First Amendment freedom of speech to do so, are the folks that spread bigotry and hatred towards our LGBT community. And that's very upsetting, but of course they have the right to be out here as well as anybody else.
Oh, really? How big is that group?
I've seen them on two different corners going to and from the caucus meetings. I've attended the LGBT caucus as well as a caucus focusing on TPP, which actually I would like to focus a little bit on, because the TPP is a issue that will destroy our nation as far as our sovereignty is concerned. We're fighting on all fronts. We're fighting for Latinos and Latinas. We're fighting for the African American community. We're fighting for LGBT. We're fighting for women and children and veterans and seniors, people of all colors, creeds, and race and religion. But the one thing that could destroy this nation, the one thing that people are fearful of if we elect a president like Hillary Clinton, if we allow the Democratic Party under Hillary Clinton to have all three branches of our government, and they sign this TP anyway, in any scenario, we've lost the world. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm basing this on what we have read, what we do know about the TPP. The TPP will allow corporations to sue governments. That means that if Tesla comes to Nevada, as an example, not only do we have to have a race to the bottom to earn their business and give them complete tax exemption for a handful of jobs that half the time are not represented by unions. Aside from that, if the government, local, state, or federal, were to do anything to cut into their profits, the pharmaceutical industry is another good example, but if the government does anything to hurt the corporations, then they can sue the government in a corporation tribunal courtroom.
Oh, really?
This is really scary stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. Okay. But back to the treatment of the delegates there, the treatment of the more Bernie delegates. There was an incident you guys had on a bus. I think it was the first day there?
Yes.
What can you tell us?
Sure. We were getting on the bus. The Hillary folks have seemed to just be there first at every step of the game. And I accredit that mostly to the fact that the Hillary supporters are the establishment. They are the folks that they've been through this once or twice before. So we get on the bus, myself and two other delegates initially, and the bus is pretty packed full of Hillary delegates. Now, led by Donna West and Alicia Tucker, they started chanting very loud, very boisterously, over and over again, Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. Now, not only were we exhausted from flying the red eye and having no sleep, not enough food and water, the humidity here is atrocious. Philadelphia, it's true what they say, it is always sunny here, but it was 91 degrees the first day that we got to the city. So we were already a little bit fried, our nerves. And we got on the bus, and we very politely asked the Hillary delegates, we asked Donna West, hey, we appreciate your passion for your candidate, but we just need to take this bus 5 minutes down the road, and can we just not do that right now? We won't do it, you won't do it. Can we agree to those terms? And the response that we got was laughter, ridicule, pointing, and hollering. So we were basically shouted off the bus, and we had to get on the second bus. So right from day one, the other delegates were being very disrespectful, and it was really disheartening, to tell you the truth, Ed.
There's a rumor that on the day of the vote, that there was a vote taken at breakfast in the morning, a paper ballot, some type of other vote was taken early in the morning, and that Hillary did not have enough delegates. Is that true?
Well, what I can speak to on that is, as far as the state of Nevada is concerned, each morning we have breakfast and then we have our delegation meeting. After the delegation meeting, we were instructed to cast our vote for either Hillary or Bernie. That was all done on a piece of paper. We checked off a box. We signed our name. I took a photograph of that as I left. In fact, we all did, to ensure that everybody voted for who they said they were going to vote for, and that we could have that if and when there's any sort of challenges in the future. Now, as far as your question about whether or not Hillary had enough delegates to capture the nomination, that is an unknown. That's an unknown, because we don't know how the other states collected the votes, if it was all uniform or not. But in theory, if everyone votes at 8 o'clock in the morning and the gavel drops at 4 p.m. and there's some time and things going on between 4 p.m. and the roll call of the 50 states, one would imagine that the DNC could collect all the votes, count the votes, and say, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and Hillary's 100 votes short. So where are these delegates? Let make sure they get their votes in,
right? And
they could whip up those votes. So this is just another example of how our democracy is damaged.
And there's no accounting for this. There's no observers.
No, there's no observers. There's no tracking that I know of. Like I said, we've got a serious issue with our people, with the Nevada State Democratic Party. We're not told anything unless we ask for it, and even if we ask for it, we have to ask multiple times and try to exert our political equity to get answers.
There's also stories about that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is still walking around the convention like she runs the place. Have you noticed that?
I haven't witnessed that personally. I've heard reports that earlier in the week that she was in the convention center, that she was rehearsing her speech in one of the hallways, and people were very aggravated with her because she is a figurehead for the corruption, for the bias that the WikiLeaks reports have confirmed. And basically they told her, sorry to say, you're not going to be speaking here. It would have been a very dangerous situation, Ed, and I'm very thankful that she was removed. However, I have read that she is now working for the Hillary for America campaign. So symbolically, was it good that we removed her? Yes. Practically, logistically, was it smart that she was removed from the convention to avoid unnecessary tensions and the potential for riots? Absolutely. But is her pocketbook going to hurt? No. Is her power going to hurt? No. And that's the problem. We have this network of people that have a lot of control over our lives.
And in the Clinton statement, they wrote that she will continue to act as a surrogate, which means she's been acting as a surrogate all along. They just let that slip,
Right. I wish I could laugh along with you, but it really just makes me sick to my stomach. We've known all along that she's been working in collusion, or we've suspected this based on what we've witnessed. Myself and my partner, we've traveled from Nevada to Colorado to California, and in every state that we've gone and every person we've talked to, even Hillary supporters, even Hillary folks have confirmed that things don't seem right, they don't seem fair, transparent, and we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, you're right. You being over there in the trenches, it must be heartbreaking for you what you're going through. And we really do appreciate that you represented our interests and being over there on the front line. So I hope I didn't offend you with that. Now, what about?
No, not at all. I understand.
What about walkouts? After Bernie said, okay, we want to turn over all our delegates to Hillary and make it unanimous, blah, 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 there appeared to be a huge walkouts. Did you notice that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We witnessed hundreds, if not over 1,000 delegates walk out after Vermont made the motion for a nomination of Clinton by acclamation. That was a disgusting spit in the face to all Americans who voted in this election year, all of our constituents as well as our delegates, because we wanted it to go down in the history books that this was a very, very, very close race. Despite the corruption, despite the allegations of abuse of power, we wanted it to go down. That the numbers were very, very close. And when they did that, look, we're not. I'll speak for myself. I'm not upset with Bernie Sanders. I've seen some videos and photos of him earlier this week where he looked literally like he was beat up in the face.
Right. I was going to ask you about that next.
He had his back against the wall with a gun to his head. He has been, even at his ripe age, and my father is actually the same age as him. And ironically, Trump is only 5 years his junior. However, he's been youthful and energetic, and he never loses his voice. I'm losing my voice after 3 or 4 days here. And all of a sudden, just as we're getting to the point where we could possibly win this thing, now all of a sudden he is just down physically, down emotionally, and down, in the eyes of his supporters. So we don't blame him whatsoever for doing what he had to do to perhaps remain safe and keep the convention and the children, the youngsters outside protesting safe. I'm sure Bernie doesn't want riots. He doesn't want the country to collapse under our nose. So we wanted to continue the fight. And he's always said it's not about him, it's about us.
Well, what are people saying? Because there is a photo going around, several photos of that injury on his face that looks like a fresh, deep cut into the side of his face. What's the scuttlebutt over there about that? Are people talking about that?
Yes, absolutely. I would be sugarcoating it if I didn't tell you the complete truth of what I witnessed. Now, first of all, there is a heightened sense of paranoia throughout the city. I would say that it appears that not only are the establishment folks paranoid and worried and mistrusting, but also folks on the streets that are sleep deprived and hunger deprived and dehydrated. So one thing that I've witnessed is folks arguing back and forth. No, this isn't real. He didn't get beat up. Well, I want to remind folks that may be listening, the space shuttle disaster perhaps would not have happened if people had not succumbed to groupthink and a cognitive dissonance. It seems that most Hillary delegates, most Hillary supporters that I've engaged with here in the past 4 days have all been viciously defending their candidate. I'll give you one example. And they also are defending the DNC viciously.
Yeah.
I noticed on day one when we got our $5 slices of pizza inside the convention center that the food vendor for the Wells Fargo Center is none other than the anti-gay and lesbian company Chick-fil-A. Now, when I brought that up to one of the Hillary delegates in our lobby, she immediately snapped back and said, well, that's just negative. And that company is doing a lot better than they used to. And I've worked with Hillary, and she's a champion, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, look, I thought, and this woman, by the way, had buttons and pins that would indicate that she was a member of the LGBT community. So I thought maybe we can make some headway. Maybe we can find that we agree with more than we disagree as far as the policies go and the issues go. But she did not want to hear it. She just didn't want to hear it because I was wearing a Bernie Sanders button. And that's just really unfortunate. And this psychological phenomenon, I'm not quite sure how we overcome this.
Yeah, I'm hearing over and over too as well that these Hillary people, they're just in a bubble. They're in a bubble, and they just, and they don't realize that they just lost half the Democratic Party either. Quick question for you now: did Bernie walk out too at the end of that when all the delegates were walking out?
I can't speak to that. I don't know if he was. I can tell you that earlier this week, Monday night, there was a emergency National Platform Committee meeting that was called, and that was the meeting where pictures and videos were captured, which indicated perhaps that Bernie had been beaten up by someone or some group of people, and so. I'm sorry, Ed, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Now, you're saying that at this platform committee meeting, that's where videos were taken, because the video I saw was him sitting there when his brother was giving him the nomination. There's a very clear picture of an injury to his face.
Oh, yes, that's correct. So listen, at the platform committee, after he spoke, after Danny Glover badgered the folks in the room, is what I was told, they were really trying to whip the platform committee and send them back to the delegations and let our delegations know that, we've had enough, you've had your democracy, now it's time to get behind Clinton, you got to make it happen, and, the usual stuff. But what I was told was that the vibe in the room was very aggressive from not only Danny Glover but also Jesse Jackson. You can see in some of the photos that Jesse Jackson is off to the side, just with a grimaced look on his face. It's beyond disheartening.
So wait, Danny Glover was not on Bernie's side? He was against Bernie?
Well, one by one, folks have been bought and brought onto the Hillary campaign. This network has a lot of money and a lot of influence, and people are scared. People want their careers and things to just go smoothly. And again, the cognitive dissonance plays a big role. Now, I did want to mention, though, as far as Bernie Sanders goes, that when the meeting was done, there wasn't even a moment for anybody to talk with him. He was whisked out of the room as though, he was now being handled, which is interesting given that his Secret Service protection was lifted after the
endorsement.
The staged endorsement, if you will.
Right, which is unusual. Now, what security? Does he have his own security now? Does he have any guys or what?
I don't know the details. You would have to talk with the DNC or perhaps, somebody with more access to that information. I would imagine that he has some sort of protection, whether it's his own protection or from the Secret Service. But I can tell you that the Wells Fargo Center is heavily guarded, and despite those guarded areas, the protesters last night were still pushing their way through the gates and climbing over the gates and getting into places where they weren't supposed to. So it's a volatile situation here. It's a high stress situation, and once again, I just want to thank my constituents for trusting me to have a level head and to come out here and represent the people of Nevada in Congressional District 1.
Okay, what do you know about after that big walkout? There's people saying that they saw a bunch of SUVs show up with seat fillers, people coming to fill seats.
Yes, so I actually removed myself from the convention center minutes before the actual walkout. Frankly, it was a tense situation. I did not know whether or not there would be riots, and personally, I was not willing to take the chance with my personal safety. So I bolted out of the convention center minutes before the roll call and the acclamation vote. And as I was going outside and going around the building, trying to find the Secret Service escorted buses, shuttle buses that we've been using back and forth to our hotel, as it turned out, those shuttle buses were not available for me to leave the premises by that method of transportation. So I pretty much ran to the Uber tent, and I was helped into an Uber, and I got safely back to our hotel. Now, as I was leaving and making my way to the transportation areas, I witnessed about a half a dozen large black SUVs, which I would presume are some sort of government vehicles, perhaps Secret Service or FBI or some sort of law enforcement, and they had their lights going and they were flying. It was scary, Ed, and as far as the people that were coming in as seat fillers, I thought it was unusual that several hours into the convention day, after the gavel drops, I mean, most people that are serious delegates would be there right on time to have their votes counted on both sides for both candidates. But what I witnessed with my own two eyeballs is I saw droves of people with credentials coming in. And I got to tell you, that 99% of those people, they were dressed very, very well. and make your own assumptions about that. But there's definitely been a feeling of class war all week since we've arrived in Philly. So these folks, I don't know if they were paid or unpaid. There's a so-called Craigslist ad that suggests that seat fillers were being paid $50 a pop. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, the naysayers and the conspiracy theorists would argue that, well, those ads were put up by Bernie folks. Well, that may be the case, and we may never know. However, there are companies that are hired and paid to put people in their seats. That's not a new thing.
No, we know that for a fact. Yeah. And even Donald Trump used it for his announcement. He hired people to show up, seat fillers.
Sure.
In Vegas, we know what seat fillers are. Now,
right, and they may have also been volunteers, and I think that's really a moot point. The point is that every day since the walkout, anybody that gets up out of their seat, whether they have to go to the bathroom, have a cigarette, get a slice of pizza, or just take a breather from sitting in a stadium seat for 8 hours, anybody that steps up for a moment when they get back to their seat, there's a stranger with a credential that was never elected, and we don't know where these people came from. And our delegation doesn't know. Our state party, if they know, they're not telling us. And the DNC has surely not communicated anything about why this is.
Well, hold on.
We have to fight to get back in our seats.
Joe, you're telling me that when you get up and go to the bathroom and you come back, there's another guy in your seat with a Nevada delegate credential?
Well, look, the credentials do not indicate what state you're from.
Okay.
The credentials are all uniform. So it's hard to tell if they're from New York or California.
Well, isn't that convenient?
and they're not exactly disclosing who they are and how they came about to be in the convention area in the first place. Now, we were elected. We were elected by constituents. We went through, in Nevada, a 3-stage process to make it to Philly. There were thousands of people that wanted to be here. We're privileged and honored to have this opportunity, but we went through 30 to 40 hours of aggravation through the caucus to the county to the state convention, where John Ralston lied to the American people, which should be considered traitorous, in my view, about chairs being thrown. And I was 10 feet away from the man. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The man had red eyes. He was enraged. I bet you dollars to donuts he would have thrown that chair if people had not surrounded him, put the chair to the floor, and hugged him. But we're a nonviolent movement, and of course there's going to be aggravations and instigators and provocateurs. That happens in every movement. I witnessed it in the RNC when George W. Bush was reselected and coronated. And there's not much we can do about that, but we're out here doing our best to be peaceful, doing our best to maintain our composure, and continuously holding the feet to the fire of our elected officials. In fact, we've asked for a resignation from Roberta Lang, which has been laughed about from the state party. We asked Congressman Ellison, who spoke to our delegation, I asked the congressman, would you please come to Nevada? There is so much hostility between the party and the Bernie delegates and the Bernie supporters, which represent half of the Democratic Party, the half that we're going to need to beat Donald Trump in Nevada. I asked if he would please come to Nevada and mediate the situation. He very quickly agreed. We asked him, Angie Morelli and the others in our delegation asked the Congressman Ellison, would you please put a timetable on that? We asked Roberta Lang and the NV Dems. We asked Zach Zaragoza, the executive director of the NSDP. We said, when will this happen? Can we say within 3 calendar weeks? And all parties agreed. Now, just 2 days later, it was brought up again because there was yet another argument, another incident where voices were raised in our delegation meeting. And it was asked again, will Congressman Ellison be here within 3 weeks? And they said, we can't guarantee that. We don't know about his schedule. They essentially reneged. And we have no faith. We have no trust in our state party to follow through on anything. how can we resolve our issues? How can we win this election if we have no communication? And frankly, at this point, our constituents have expressed that they're going to either sit out, vote for Trump or another candidate like Jill Stein if we can get her on the ballot, or they're just going to campaign against the entire party and all down-ticket Democrats, because we have principles and we have passion, and that far outweighs any pragmatism when there's this much corruption, lies, and lack of accountability.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're making any effort at all. What do you know about 200 Bernie volunteer delegates or volunteer credentialed people that had their credentials removed?
I can't really speak to that. I don't have enough information to share with you at this time.
What do you know about Nina Turner's situation?
What I've been told is that they've been treating her very, very, very badly. And just like all live televised events, every person you witness on your television or computer screen that's talking is reading from a monitor. I've worked in stage production for 13 years as a member of IATSE Local 720. I'm proud to be part of a union, but I can tell you from my production experience, most things in a professional production such as this, in a political environment, are scripted. And that means that their speeches are written and submitted and approved. So what we've been told is they didn't like her speech. They don't approve of her messages. And so because of that, they're intimidating, harassing, and essentially telling her as well, hey, we don't need you. Well, guess what? We don't need the party. We've got other options. And I don't want to leave the Nevada State Democratic Party, and I won't leave the party. I'm going to stay and fight from within. And our plan is to take these people out of office by getting all of our Bernie supporters to get into the State Central Committee. And with just over 100 people, we can take back our party and make it truly progressive, because right now it's corporations that are calling the shots. And we need Bernie-crats that can't be bought to represent the people of Nevada.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The next move is to get our own people into the party. Now,
absolutely.
What do you make? You were talking about how things are scripted. Do you think that when Sarah Silverman made that comment right before they were to bring out Paul Simon to sing an Art Garfunkel song? That's not even a Paul Simon song. That's an Art Garfunkel sang that song, and the kind of slap in the face to Bernie's January commercial, the America commercial. It's all too much of a coincidence. A slap in the face, one after another.
Absolutely. You know, I got to take my hat off to Hillary Clinton and her campaign. It's funny, it's ironic that there's been so much liberal media expounding on Donald Trump's wife that stole a speech, because Hillary Clinton is stealing every line, every slogan from Bernie Sanders.
Right.
We've seen that time and time again from the beginning of his campaign. And as far as Sarah Silverman is concerned, I'm a big fan of Sarah. I think she's a funny lady, but I really think that she should keep her nose out of politics, because she has single-handedly aggravated millions of people across the country, and we certainly don't think it's funny. Now, when she said that Bernie or bust was that anybody that supported that movement, which essentially means that we're going to vote our conscience this year for the first time in the history of the United States. We're not going to be bullied and scared because of the boogeyman to not vote our conscience and for the candidate that best represents us. Well, when she said that, she really took a big chance, and I don't know if that was scripted or not. I would imagine that it might not have been. And that happens, too, on live television. A good example is when I challenged Hillary Clinton at the Nevada Forum, the MSNBC Univision Forum that was held in Las Vegas. I was lucky enough to get a seat. I was lucky enough to get a question in. My question was about the big banks and when will she release the transcripts, which, by the way, I'm still waiting. Now, that question had to be submitted to an MSNBC producer, along with a number of other questions. And it had to be approved, which means they typed it out on an index card and handed it to me moments before I went on live television. So does that mean that Hillary knew that question was coming? Your guess is as good as mine, but I would imagine that she's got connections with MSNBC.
Oh, you think
now,
so?
I asked a second question, a follow-up question, when I said to her that she broke my heart and the hearts of millions and millions of LGBT people around the world when she stated not that long ago that marriage is between a man and a woman. That question wasn't scripted, and I know that she was very, very angry. She scolded me like a Catholic nun, and it was abusive. And what they've done to this country, their behaviors are abusive.
What's the mood like there today? Same?
Well, right now I'm sitting in my hotel room with another delegate, and we've been resting. We've been taking care of ourselves in between joining the protesters outside and being inside the convention to be present for all votes. And, the vibe is it's a little bit solemn right now. The Hillary people have beat us up. We've told them, you beat us up. You got the nomination. Now will you stop kicking dirt in our faces? And they won't. That day that we were getting on the bus, that first day, I suffer from the occasional migraine. Okay. And like I said, I was tired, hot, and hungry, which all were contributing factors. But when Donna West and Alicia Tucker led that bus to scream in our faces, I had to put my hands to my head, to my temples, and close my eyes. And I pleaded with them, would you please stop. Just stop for 5 minutes till we get down the road. Just till we get to the convention center, then do whatever you want. And they refused. Alicia Tucker pointed her finger between my eyeballs and laughed at me. This was just terrible.
Now, there's another story going around that cell phones are being jammed in certain delegates' sections and not other delegate sections. Do you know anything about that?
I did not experience that in our section, and I have heard reports of that. We certainly have the technology to do that. Yeah. In fact, speaking of technology, it's getting back to the TPP for just a moment. It's scary that the TPP could result in censorship of our internet, which would be driven by corporations. We're already living in vacuums. The protesters are in a vacuum. When you're on social media, I'm in a vacuum. I'm sure you see what you want to see, and I see what I want to see. And I don't see Republican stuff on my timeline because I don't have a lot of friends with bigots and racists. So I see, liberal and independent media. And again, the Hillary folks seem to be in a vacuum of their own. Yeah. And the delegates. And most impactful is our elected officers, officials. We had Senator Harry Reid this morning as our delegation meeting special guest. And he took to the mic in front of a room of Hillary and Bernie delegates as well as media. And he said, Nevada has been smooth sailing. We've had no problems, and everybody loves each other. We're all walking hand in hand. Essentially, he said that. And one by one, people walked out of that meeting. One by one, people raised their hands. He gave them the chair, gave them the floor, and they expressed the truth, the fact of the matter, that things are not all smooth sailing. Things are not peaches and cream. And we're risking, in a battleground state like Nevada, in a swing state where we could lose once again a lot of seats to Republicans if we don't shape up and turn this around like yesterday. He just said everything was fine. And we told him it's not fine. And we want a seat at the table. We even asked Congressman Dina Titus. I asked her once again. I said, please, on behalf of the delegation, on behalf of our constituents, on behalf of our democracy and the future for all Nevada families, would you please please orchestrate and help mediate the situation between half of the party and the party officials. She said yes. We didn't hold her to a timeline. She did say yes, but we're not holding our breath. They don't trust us and we don't trust them. It's almost as bad as the situation in the Middle East. They just won't come to the table. They don't want to recognize us, but we're not giving up.
What about, you're hearing stories about lights being shut off in sections of the ballroom, or blue lights being shown in certain sections with, what do you know about that?
Yes. So states such as Oregon and California at last night's DNC both did what they could to get messages out. Right. Messages to stop the TPP and also chants of no more war. When they made those displays in an attempt to be heard through the mainstream media, they were shut down through any means available to the DNC. They have control of the audio, they have control of the video, and they have control of the lights. When they shut the lights off, people turned on the lights on their cell phones. We've been doing everything we can to get in front of the camera so that millions of people can actually see us on live television, where it can't be deleted through technology, where it can't be blacked out by the corporate elite. Yeah, and that's our last opportunity of communication.
Yeah, very little is making it. Very little is making it onto the news and to the live coverage. Even when they're doing these interviews in the morning, and you hear people behind them chanting, these hosts. Well, they had on, I think they had John Lewis today. They had on, and they said, "Well, tell people how we can bring them back together. Explain to them how they're wrong." It's really. What about signs being taken away from people?
Signs are not allowed. So the signs that have been made, I presume, were made inside the convention area.
Right. But are you witnessing people having signs taken away? People had tape over their mouth and stuff like that. Are you witnessing this kind of stuff being taken away?
I haven't seen it myself, okay. but there have been people that have been ejected, and again, it's just one of many tools that they're using to disenfranchise the voices of millions of people. Okay,
now real quick, because I know you're giving me more time than you promised me originally, so I really appreciate that. But now,
sure.
WikiLeaks. There's a new WikiLeaks came out today about 29 voicemails. Are people talking about that?
Yes, people are definitely talking about that. We listened to those voicemails last night in our hotel room. Those voicemails that we heard were mostly, quick, short messages like, "Hey, so-and-so, call me back." But some of the most disturbing ones, as you may know if you've listened to them already, is the messages from people saying to the DNC with very, very strong tones, "You must stop this man, Bernie Sanders. He's not a Democrat. He's an independent. He's got to go. I can't believe you're," and I'm imitating what I heard. "I can't believe you're letting this man have so much traction. He's got to be shut down." This is like very much reminds me of popular films like The Hunger Games. And on that note, yesterday when I returned to our hotel room, I turned on the news. I was hoping to see something that represented reality. And once again, the cognitive dissonance, the media blackout, all working hand in hand. When you turned on the TV, they hardly cut to the audience. I didn't know if half the audience was there or not. They didn't talk about the protest. They didn't show the protest, even though there's hundreds, if not thousands, of independent journalists doing audio and video recordings and documenting what's going on in the streets. People that documented Occupy Wall Street, people that documented the RNC protests over the years. When you turned on the TV, it was like the Hunger Games. It was a bunch of pundits, highly paid, corporate elite, people that don't drive around in beat-up cars like you and I, people that don't have to work and exert physical labor like union stagehands, people that don't have to, that get to work 40 hours a week or less and have all their benefits and then some. They were sitting around tables and laughing and ridiculing, like Sarah Silverman, calling us ridiculous, putting us down. They're really, really, really poking the dragon. And Bernie Sanders awoken this dragon. Bernie Sanders awoken the American people. And that's why people like Bernie Sanders, individual leaders with charisma and honesty and integrity, people like Nina Turner, people like Jill Stein, people like Dr. Cornel West, that's why they're being shut down. That's why they're not getting access to the TV screens, because they're afraid. And the people, as always, we outnumber the government, and they are truly afraid because we're not going to stand for this. Our futures depend on it.
Yeah, I could tell you from my personal experience, I had my press credentials pulled from the Trump campaign. They no longer allow me to get into the press section, come in anymore, because they listened to my shows. And that was it, man. I was gone, 86. And you hear some of these WikiLeaks people presenting their articles to the DNC before publications, and as per our agreement. Here's my upcoming article.
Right. Hey, if you don't like this, feel free to edit it and send it back to me.
Amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's censorship. Yeah.
Well, it's voluntary. It's voluntary censorship. But I can't. I can't say that I can't blame them. But I see how the game is played, and if you go in there and you ask tough questions, you're not going to get back in. They're not going to let you back in. And
no,
yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, because I did do a lot of stuff about the Clintons too, so they don't bring me on either. Real quick, something going on here locally. You guys have been out of town for about a week. Are you familiar with the situation with the racist statements from the school board trustee talking about running over protesters, Black Lives Matter protesters, and then another post came up about saying that the school children in Clark County school system that can't speak English, it's because their parents are illegals and they can't speak English. Are you familiar with all that going on?
I've read some of the stories, and this is just yet another example of the intolerance and hatred that Donald Trump has been spreading. This is, on some occasions I'm ashamed to be a part of a nation that allows, through our process, through our electoral system, through our two-party system, that allows people like Donald Trump to do this. But honestly, I don't want to give him any more airtime. I would never vote for Donald Trump, and neither should you. Let's move on from that.
Well, actually,
the Black Lives Matter people should fight tooth and nail. And I want to actually touch on something about that. There's an African-American woman, a friend of mine, who said, how could you dare organize against Hillary Clinton? How could you dare risk through interviews and speaking truth to power that we could lose this election to Donald Trump because of how hateful he is towards African Americans? I've also heard the same thing from women that are worried about Supreme Court nominee being a person that could overturn Roe versus Wade. I just want to be crystal clear. The two-party system has duped us again. They've pitted us against each other, black and white, man and woman. And the thing is, those issues are equally, if not more important than anything else. And we support and stand with our African-American brothers and sisters. We support and we stand with women and the right to reproductive rights. We stand with those people and we invite them to join our movement.
Well, we're getting toward the end. What do you think is going to happen tonight? Do you have any advanced knowledge of tonight when Hillary makes her speech? Is there going to be another walkout? You think people are going to shout her down? I can't imagine people being able to sit through that.
Well, in past days when people have booed, the Hillary delegates have been combative verbally and in some instances physically. When signs go up, people try to grab them and pull them down. So, again, this is a volatile situation. We're going to do our best to be nonviolent at all times and to de-escalate. We have some folks on our delegation that have gone to Bernie trainings that were to teach people how to de-escalate a situation. I do think that there will be booing. I do think that there'll be shouting down. I do think that people will be ejected when they cannot be quote-unquote controlled. And I think that a walkout is possible. But once again, we walked out a few days ago. Last night. And did it change much? I don't know. There's millions of people that don't have access to the internet. There's seniors that aren't on Facebook and Twitter that might not listen to your show, that don't really know what they don't know. If it's not on the paper, if it's not on Fox or CNN or MSNBC, which are all equally biased in their coverage. So it's hard to say. We don't get any kind of schedule for these DNC days. We're told when the gavel drops, when the convention opens, and it's a lot of watching videos. As the people at home can see, it's entertainers. This is all it's just one big show, one big masquerade. And I want my constituents back home in Nevada in Congressional District 1 to know that just because I'm here and you're not, it doesn't mean that I'm better than you. You're no better than me, and I'm no better than you. We're all involved in this movement. And being a cyber activist, posting all over social media, that's not what's going to change the world. That's not what's going to change our nation, our state, and our cities and towns. What's going to change it is when you have the confidence and you build the network and support through the grassroots movement that we're building, and run for city council and challenge your county commissioners and get on the school board and become the governor. And we want to teach people, I want people to know that you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be wealthy. We will support you, and we will raise the money $1 at a time without the filthy corruption of the oil industry and the military-industrial complex. This is more than a movement of hope and change, which in some sense has been a bluster under Obama and the Occupy movement, like many more that have fizzled out before it. This is a movement that will not be stopped. We have to teach our children and make sure that our history is learned. Just like one of my favorite novels, 1984. We can't let history be rewritten. And when they had that roll call and acclamation, that was a rewriting of history. They wanted to say in the history books that Hillary Clinton was the first woman president, and it was by acclamation. Well, we do want a female. We do want a woman. I would love to see a transgender person with tattoos and piercings as our president. I would be happy with anybody of any color, creed, race, or religion to be our president, as long as their morals and their ethics and their values align with the people.
Joe Sacco, when are you guys coming back? When do you come back to Nevada?
Well, all of us, we're not all on the same flights due to different personal scheduling issues and differences. Myself and a few of the others that are traveling together, we are flying back on Friday, tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
and we're ready to go right to work for our constituents in Nevada.
And you guys, you got my phone number, you got my email. So if anything comes up between now and then, don't hesitate. Keep me informed, okay?
I really appreciate this opportunity, Ed, and I do want to just leave you with this. People can follow updates from myself at the DNC by following my Twitter, which is at Mr. Joe Sacco, and I also have a public figure page on Facebook. Again, this is not about me, it's about us, but be informed and think for yourself. Don't even believe what I have to say unless you believe it in your heart of hearts. And once again, thank you very much. You have a wonderful show.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Joe Sacco, Nevada delegate on the scene over there, giving us really, really unreported information that and confirming a lot of rumors and suspicions that are going on in people's internet feeds. Joe Sacco, thank you so much, brother.
Our pleasure.
Good night. Okay, they had Joe Sacco, guys. Breaking news. That is breaking news and breaking reporting that you heard only here, okay? Go to OppermanReport.com. Sign up to the member section. This is how you support what we're doing here, guys. OppermanReport.com. You sign up to the member section. There's more shows in there, so you get more content. There's documents in there. There's all kind of stuff. Or you can go to PayPal, OppermanReport@gmail.com, and support the show. We need your support, guys. You didn't hear this stuff anywhere else.